Okay, tell the truth. If you're watching this, you've probably stepped on your last Lego. You've probably taken one too many work calls from the kitchen table, and you likely close yourself in the bathroom just to get 5 minutes of personal peace and quiet. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, you realize something. You really did love your starter home. It wasn't perfect, but it was yours, and it's where all of the firsts happened. First keys, first holidays, first night staying up way too late putting all the new furniture together, thinking to yourselves that you made it. And for a while it worked beautifully, but then life changed. Slowly at first, then all at once. The house didn't change, but you sure did. More stuff showed up, more noise, and more responsibilities showed up as well. And suddenly the same space that once felt cozy started feeling cramped. Not in a dramatic way, in a very quiet, everyday type of way that sneaks up on you. You start bumping into each other more, you realize that there's nowhere to be alone, work spills into family time spills into work time, and you catch yourself thinking things like, why does this feel harder than it should? And that usually is when the guilt kicks in, because you're supposed to feel grateful, right? You own a home, you got in, you did the thing that so many other people are trying to do. So you tell yourself not to complain. You tell yourself that other people have it way worse, and you convince yourself that this is just part of the phase that you're in now. But deep down, you know something's off. This isn't about wanting something fancy or bigger just to keep up and just for the sake of it. It's about the house no longer supporting the life that you're in now and how you're actually living day to day. And in this video, I'm breaking down what actually happens when families emotionally outgrow their starter home and why this moment sneaks up on so many people, and how to tell the difference between normal growing pains and a home that no longer fits your life. And if you're planning a move soon and want help thinking through this type of situation and think through your options, text the number in the description of this video if you would like my help making that happen. What makes this stage so confusing is that it rarely shows up all at once. There's no big breaking moment, there's no dramatic realization, and no single thing that goes wrong. It's death by 1,000 frustrations. Mornings feel rushed because everyone is on top of each other. Evenings feel noisy when you're craving quiet and you start working from places that were never meant to be workspaces. The kitchen becomes command central, storage becomes impossible and non-existent, and every surface starts collecting some little thing that never goes away. At first you brush it all off, you tell yourself it's temporary, you blame your schedule, you blame your work, and you blame the season of life that you're in now. But over time you realize that the house isn't adapting with you, you're just adapting to it, and that becomes exhausting. Most families don't even recognize how much energy their home is draining until they imagine what life can feel like with a little bit more space, a little better layout, or the ability to close a door and just breathe for a minute. And that's usually when the question creeps in, is this just how it's supposed to be now? Once that question shows up, most families don't act on it, they pause. Not because they don't want change, but because change feels risky. And there's comfort in the known. You know the payment, you know the neighborhood, you know the rhythm of life where you are, and walking away from that feels scary even if it's not working the way that it used to. So people compromise. They reorganize, they downsize belongings, they move desks, they tell themselves things like, oh, well, once the kids are a little older, or after this next busy season, or when things slow down at work, but life rarely slows down. And what actually happens is families normalize discomfort. They get really good at working around problems instead of solving them. And the longer that goes on, the heavier the decision ends up feeling. Because now it's not just about moving, it's about admitting that the house no longer fits, and that is an emotional thing for a lot of people. Letting go of a starter home isn't just logistical, it's personal. Now here's the thing that brings a lot of clarity. Every home has growing pains. No house is perfect, and there's always something that you could change if you could. But there's a difference between minor inconvenience and a home that actively works against you every single day. Growing pains feel manageable. Annoying, yes, but manageable. And misfit feels constant, heavy, and draining. Now, when your house constantly makes daily routines harder instead of easier, that's a massive signal. And when you can't create separation between work and home, between kids and quiet, between activity and rest, that friction adds up. No amount of rearranging furniture fixes that. This is usually when families realize the issue isn't gratitude or mindset, it's alignment. The house was perfect for who you were when you first bought it, but your life evolved, and that's not failure, that's progress. Recognizing that difference is what allows families to move forward without guilt and without rushing into the wrong decision. Even once families admit that the house isn't working anymore, the idea of moving still feels overwhelming. It's not just the logistics, it's the mental load. Selling feels final, buying feels uncertain, and doing both at the same time feels like inviting chaos into an already busy life. So instead of moving forward, people stay stuck in the planning phase. They talk about it casually, they save listings, they run numbers in their head late at night, but they never really commit to understanding their options because they're afraid of opening a door that they're not quite ready to walk through. And that fear keeps people frozen far longer than necessary. And the truth is, most stress that people associate with moving isn't caused by the process itself, it's caused by not knowing what comes next. And when families don't have clarity, every decision feels risky. When they don't understand their options, waiting feels safer even when it's not. Something really important happens when families stop guessing and start getting real clarity. The stress doesn't disappear overnight, but it does soften. The noise in your head gets quieter, and the constant what if loop, it finally slows down. Because now you're not imagining worst case scenarios anymore. You're starting to look at actual numbers, real timelines, and actual options, and that is a huge positive mental shift. Most families assume that getting clarity means committing to moving out, but that's not quite how it works. Clarity doesn't force action, it gives you leverage, it gives you perspective, it gives you back a sense of control that you didn't realize you were missing at first. When you understand what your current home could realistically sell for, what equity you actually have access to, and how different timing scenarios play out, the fear starts to lose grip. You're no longer making decisions based on stress or urgency, you're making them out of a place of information. And that's when the upgrade conversation stops feeling heavy and starts feeling manageable. Not easy, but manageable, which is a massive difference. This is the part people rarely see from the outside. Most families that I work with don't come in saying, we're ready, let's go. They come in saying that they're uncertain, torn, and emotionally attached to the home that they bought years ago, but mentally exhausted by trying to make it work. They're worried about making the wrong move, they're worried about selling too soon, they're worried about missing something better if they act now, and they're worried about regretting the decision either way they go. But once we slow things down and actually walk through their situation, the conversation changes. And they stop thinking in extremes. It's no longer move now or never, it becomes, well, what's realistic for us in the next 6, 12, or even 24 months? Some families realize upgrading now makes sense for them. Others realize that waiting another year is the right call for their family, and sometimes the biggest win is simply knowing that the option is there when you're ready. And what brings relief isn't always moving, it's understanding that you're not stuck. There's a massive difference between impatience and readiness, and most people underestimate how clearly that shows up once you pay attention to it. When a home truly fits your life, it supports you, it absorbs the chaos instead of amplifying it. Even on busy days, it feels like a place that you can recover. When a home no longer fits, the friction becomes constant. Every routine feels harder than it should, small inconveniences pile up, and you start dreaming about solutions instead of enjoying where you are. And that's usually the moment people talk themselves out of listing. They tell themselves that they should be grateful, they tell themselves that they're being dramatic, and they tell themselves that it's not the right time. But awareness isn't a command to move, it's just information. Recognizing that your home may no longer align with your lifestyle doesn't mean that you have to act immediately. It just means that it's time to stop ignoring the conversation and start approaching it thoughtfully. Hey, I get it, loving your starter home and outgrowing it can both be true at the same time, but one doesn't cancel out the other. Your home helped get you here. It served its purpose, and feeling ready for something different doesn't mean you're ungrateful, it means that your life evolved. Upgrading isn't about chasing more, it's about alignment. It's about creating a space that supports the way that you're actually living now, not the version of life that you were living a decade ago. And if you're in Southern California and you're starting to feel that quiet tension between loving your home and feeling constrained by it, you don't have to figure this out alone. And if you're planning a move soon, or even just thinking about what the next chapter could look like, text the number in the description of this video if you'd like my help making that happen. We'll talk through your situation and see what actually makes sense for you without pressure and without rushing. Because the right move isn't about timing the market perfectly, it's about making a decision that you feel calm and confident about.